Hi, welcome to Channel Squared, where we connect with you, the divine, and channel here with you live. I'm Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate.
And I'm Jody Lynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness. And today we are talking about the disintegration of the family unit and what it means for the future and humanity.
This is a loaded topic, I think, because if you're looking at current events, you're seeing a lot of attack on children, on family, on morality. Women. Yeah.
Morality.
Exactly. And I think that it's kind of a heavy topic because there's a lot that can happen as a result of the current trajectory. We can see a complete breakdown of the family unit. We can see a complete, disintegration of the female role in the world. One of the things that I think is really interesting about femininity, feminineness, the ladiness, one of the things about that I am really have been noticing lately is how so many women push so hard for this equality to men. And when women push this ball forward to have this equality to men, it wasn't necessarily to be equal in the sense of we can do anything a man can do and we can do it better, right?
Some people were driving for that, but
maybe. But I think generally speaking, women know that they are physically not as strong as men.
Yeah.
Right. We have innate senses to the fact that we are smaller and not as strong physically as men. When we go out to run errands, we tend to, make a big loop, right? We get them all on a list and we make a big loop so that we only make one set of tracks out in the snow and one set of tracks back, right? Men will go out and come back and go out and come back and go out and come back, right? They do this back and forth. And so, we do that because deep down, we know that we are weaker physically.
Yeah. Well, and it's instinctual. Mm-hmm. Like our brains are wired differently to pick up different instinctual cues from the hunter-gatherer days. When we were gatherers, we had to be, like finding the berries, but also aware if a polar bear, I don't know where we are now, but something comes out of the bushes and we need to, we need to run, we need to hide, whatever it may be. It's in our physiology, the way that we're built.
Right. Yeah. And so, with this movement of of equality for, women, the point I think in it was, we don't get paid as much. We still don't get paid as much. Men make more money than women even still today. There are some women who make more than their male counterparts, but generally as a whole, I think it's still safe to say that men make more money than women do. And I think that part of the reason of that is that, for whatever reason, women are viewed as more of a liability or weak because they have to take care of the family unit too. They're unavailable, right? Where men are available because they know their kid's going to get taken care of because mom's home, right? Well, and I'm generalizing. I'm making a lot of generalizations here, right? Yeah. I mean, there are certainly, I'm sure, thousands of instances where this is not the case, but generally speaking, worldwide, we probably still see a lot of this inequality. But the problem in that is that now we've created this weird imbalance, right? There's this wave where the foundation is suddenly getting rocked of what the gender roles are. And so gender is under attack. Is this part of the great evolution of humanity? Maybe. Maybe not. These are questions that we should be asking. Why is this happening? Why is there attack on the family unit? Why are children being used as pawns, and why are they under attack?
Yeah.
You know, why is this happening? What is the big picture here?
I think it's to break up the family unit. And I think I am also starting to see this as a sidebar conversation, so I don't know if we're going to go into it, but I think attack women. I think that's a part of it. So I think it's this divide and conquer, if you will. Divide the family unit. With it goes family values of being connected, being together, having somebody to watch your back for you, somebody, that dynamic of whatever the family dynamic looks like, whether it's a man and a woman, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman and kids and whatever. But that unit of being together and taking care of one another and relying on one another, that is under attack at this moment in time. And those values that come with it are under attack too.
What if people rolled back? Like, what if the human population said, I don't subscribe to the attack. Okay. I don't subscribe to this. I believe in having a strong family unit. I believe in raising my kids to be good to others, to be kind, to be loving, to be able to stand their ground when needed, to be strong. What if I believe in women staying home and taking care of their kids? It's what I want to do.
I think that's very controversial.
Absolutely, right? But you know what? I have been very successful in my life. I've had several businesses that have been very successful. I have done many, many things throughout all of my career. You know, when I look back to when I started working, I was like 14 years old when I got my first like real job, where I was like getting a paycheck, not like getting paid with cash, right? So like I actually worked for a company at 14.
Wow.
Well, I'm 45. So
no, you're
I've had
42 many... in my mind forever.
I know. I'm going to be 25 forever. But like when I look at like, the years that I've worked without having children, I would love to spend the rest of my life raising my children, taking care of my family, building a home.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And it's interesting because I get some pushback, even from my family, about like, that's weird. Like, what is wrong with me?
You're not a strong, independent woman.
Right? And I'm like, hello, I have had...
Oh my gosh.
Right. Like I've had a lot of success in my life, tons of success in my life. I've made a lot of money over my life.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I've had all those things, none of them have really fulfilled me. I feel like having children, watching them grow, supporting them, teaching them all of the things that they need to know so that they can navigate whatever fucking crazy ass world they end up living in after I'm dead and gone.
Mm-hmm.
To me, being able to have the opportunity to cultivate and develop a special soul or souls coming in to help this world move forward, that to me is like the greatest work ever to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be distracted by work or a job or a business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I will, right? Let's be real. Okay, I'm a Capricorn, triple cap. So, business and money will always be part of my alignment. But, the fact is that, having that opportunity to me sounds like it's going to be super fulfilling. And maybe this is the piece that I've been missing in my life all these years. So having this family unit is really important to me. And I'm taking a stand for it. There is a reason that I don't propel my business forward, that I'm not, driving the tractor to, great dividends. It's because it's not important to me right now in this cycle of my life. Mm-hmm. In this chapter of my life, it's about taking care of me, nurturing me so that I can create the healthiest child possible.
Yeah.
It's about doing the work to cancel out the previous generations, both like ancestrally from my DNA and ancestrally from my spiritual DNA. It's about doing the work to clear that out so that my children and their children and their children, they're not carrying all that baggage and shit forward.
Yeah.
And I think this is the attack on the family unit. Because more people than ever are coming online and waking up to a new reality and wanting to have a different experience.
Yeah.
And so they're starting to do the work too. And if all of that ancestral baggage goes away, well, how are you going to control them?
Yeah.
You won't be able to, right?
Yeah. Well, and you think about how the family dynamic has changed. And I mean, like my mom stayed at home and how that was attacked, like how that is attacked by today's society, oh my God, she stayed at home and she was lazy and she never had a job and she didn't work and all of this stuff. And then in culmination with that, now it's almost impossible for a husband and wife or both one partner to stay at home and raise the kids because they need two incomes to survive in the society that the transactional and the like easy society that we've created. Everything is about convenience. For me, I never thought that I would want to stay at home with my kids when I have them. But it has become glaringly obvious over the last couple of years that it is a requirement. And I say it like that, as a requirement, because one of the things that's really important to me is sharing my values. And I look at the way that children come up in our society today, and I ask the question, who's teaching them their values? And it's really interesting because my brother has had this conversation with my dad, and subsequently me with my dad, having this conversation of him, my brother saying, well, I want my daughter to spend more time with you. And my dad saying, why? And well, I want her to learn all the values that you instilled in me. And my dad, is telling my brother, well, that starts at home. That starts from you. You have to provide those values. And I really took that to heart to mean for me that I want to teach my kids the values that are important, the values that I think need to be brought back into society. These values that I feel like are being cut with the family dynamic, like just loyalty, trust, working together, being a part of a cohesive unit, a team, like all of these things, partnership. I think these things are being lost in our society with this attack on family values. I want to be the major contributor to my child's life and their development, instead of giving it away to somebody else where I don't know what their values are. Have you ever asked at preschool, the teachers or like the aides at preschool, like, what are your values? No, that's not a conversation we have. It's how much money does this cost for my kid to come here? And this belief system of, if you don't have your kids around other children, then they're going to be socially awkward and they're going to be weird and whatever. I don't want my kids to be socially awkward, so they must go to this place that we call school. But it's not the way it's always been. They introduced school, World War II, I believe it was, to create good little factory workers.
That's right.
Do you want your child to be a good factory worker?
That's right.
Why don't we have more entrepreneurs? Maybe because we're not teaching that.
Right. Well, and I think that's exactly the reason why it's so important to me to have the opportunity to raise my children, is because, what's happening in our school system, the kids are under attack, right? They're being taught things that are beyond what they can conceptually understand.
Yeah.
I'll say it right here. Sex and sexuality is not something that my 5 and 6-year-old needs to learn. No. They don't need to know that. Right now, they need to, at that point,
or
they need
10-year-old or 12-year-old. Like, I think I learned about sex ed in grade 9.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in school, I think I was probably about 12 when we had the special health class about becoming a woman, where we talked about periods and things, all these things, right? Well, I had my period when I was 9. Yeah. So I was like an old maid by the time we got around to that conversation, and the thing is it's like, they talked a little bit about sex and sexuality in that, but not like what's being taught today.
No.
And the fact is that type of conversation really needs to happen at home. And it needs to happen at home because there's an aftermath to having a conversation like that. And if the parents don't know that the conversation is being had, that leaves little Johnny or Susie to go talk to their friends who are also in the class. And then they work it out amongst them with no guidance or supervision, right?
Well, and, no outside knowledge, wisdom to help them navigate. And they're not taught critical thinking skills. We're not taught critical thinking skills. We're not teaching our kids critical thinking skills in these schools, in public schools. So they're not critically thinking. They're just absorbing information, and they have nobody to ask questions to unless it's, perhaps, I don't want to say that. I was going to say somebody who is biased, right? That thinks that this should be something that they're talking about, which I don't agree with.
I completely agree with you. And the thing is that, Jody, look, we both have done a lot of work for our clients in repatterning, reframing, healing spiritual wounds, healing childhood wounds, right? When you talk about the injured child, I mean, how many times have we worked with a client where we've had to go back to their childhood when they were injured in their childhood, and they've been carrying that pattern and running that pattern for the rest of their life, and they're now in their 50s, 60s, 70s, some of them.
Yeah.
And we are trying to work. And it has infected their daily life. Yeah. All the way up until this point when we finally exposed it. So you mean to tell me that exposing a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old to blowjobs, transgenderism, all of this stuff, right? That this isn't going to create some sort of childhood trauma that they're not going to have to deal with at a later time? Like, what the hell is wrong with people?
Well, and a part of the family values is communion with another person. And it used to be something that was so incredibly sacred. Like, doing the act at one point or another was incredibly sacred. And we've tainted that in our society today, where it's like super transactional and we give it out to whomever and as many. Like, I mean, the things that I hear today about just giving that away, giving your flower away, it's no big deal. Like, I'm learning at 38 years old the impacts of having sex, like physically, when you do it, and that stuff happens, you know, your body actually goes into like fight mode when there's a completion that's involved, trying to fight off this person's DNA that is now within you. Sorry to be so graphic. And it has an impact on your body, and your body learns, oh, that's my partner. Great, amazing. No need to attack here. No need to put up all defenses. But if you don't have that partner, it doesn't happen the same way. It was also in my 30s that I learned that women, when they do that deed, they become attached, physically attached to that other person. Why did nobody tell me this before I did it the very first time? You know, the way that I look at sex today is completely different than the way that I was taught about sex, the way that I've acted with sex beforehand. You know, it's come to this place of it's sacred. Now, if we're teaching young people about this act without teaching them about all of it, what your body's going to go through, what you're mentally going to go through, which, by the way, they can't comprehend. Like, I learned that in my 30s and it blows my mind. I would not have understood at 5 years old. Your brain is not developed. These are topics and content that a fully developed brain struggles to comprehend, never mind one that is still in development.
Well, and you know, the big argument for it is that we are human animal, right? We're part of the animal kingdom to procreate, right? But hey, take your birth control, because we don't want too many humans, right? There's this big attack on minimizing, reducing the population, right? They want to reduce the population. So maybe this is part of the agenda. And look, I do not have any biases at all whatsoever. And I know you don't either, Jody, for, you know, the LBQ community, okay? The trans community. People are people. We love all people. We don't care, right? But the point is that I think that there's probably something more to this. And I think that if you look at, you know, if I were to ask some of my, you know, gay friends, gay family members about what's going on in this big movement, this big push, they would be mortified. They're horrified by it.
That are coming out publicly and saying this is wrong. This is not what we stand for. And I mean, I struggle to understand where some of these other people are coming from. I would love to have an open-hearted, open dialogue about why, where this is coming from. I don't understand the need to start this in schools and kindergarten with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and like having these conversations, or, you know, like something else that blows my mind, explicit content. Like, we're having these, this is going to be so controversial. I'm sorry, Heather.
I know. We might get banned. This might be the episode that gets us banned right here.
Yeah, we just don't care anymore. We're having these drag queen story hours. And okay, you want to dress up like a drag queen, that's fine. This is you exercising your freedom to do so. You want to walk the streets. You want to go to Starbucks. You want to, you know, wherever you want to go, and whatever you want to do, that's perfectly fine. You have the choice to do that. You have the freedom, and I believe in your freedom to choose. And then you want to bring it into the school. And it would be one thing if, and I don't know if this exists, but like, I don't know if drag queens are always like hanging out like exposing themselves, like skimpy clothes.
Every drag queen I've ever seen, even in like a drag queen type of like performance,
yeah,
even in their scantily clad clothing, their parts are covered. Okay. They may be wearing like a teddy or like, something sort of sexy like that. But this is covered, down there is covered, and it's a lot of it's very beautifully done. But what we're seeing is not that. We are seeing something different.
Well, and there's a time and a place for lingerie. Like a club. Sure, you want to wear lingerie, great. A library full of 6-year-olds is not where we expose them to lingerie. Like on a TV show, it says 14A or restricted. What is the point of having these restrictions or these, whatever, like warnings on TV shows? If we're going to bring clothing, I don't care if you are a woman, if you are a man, if you are transgender, or if you're a drag queen, or if you label yourself as anything. You wearing lingerie into a public library for children is wrong. That is sexually explicit content that should not be shoved in children's faces. You can tell how upset I get about it. Like that is wrong. What we're doing there is wrong. We should be protecting these children.
And the worst part about it is that oftentimes parents don't even know this is going on. I mean, how many parents came out after the pandemic that were completely blown away by the curriculum that was being taught to their kids? That the history of the country that they live in was completely different than what actually happened. That, these agendas are being pushed on the permeable minds of children.
Yes.
Okay. Like it is an all-out attack on children and the family unit. It is.
Absolutely.
If you disagree with me, put it in the comments below. I'd love to have this conversation with you.
Or
if you're part of the, lesbian, gay, transgender community and you want to come on and talk to us about it, reach out to us. hello@channelsquared.co. Do it.
Or
Let's go.
If we're missing something that's so obvious that you can see of why this is important. Like the only thing that I can think of is, in my opinion, I'm not gay, but in my opinion, I think that the people that I know that are gay it's not something they chose. They knew at a very young age that they were different. I don't know how they knew that. Maybe they were just I don't think it was at a young age. Maybe at a young age, they knew that they were different, but not really sure why. And then as they hit puberty and started to be interested in sexuality and things like that, they were attracted to their own gender, not the opposite gender, or they were attracted to certain things, and there's a stigma maybe still around that, or maybe the conversations aren't happening around how to be more open with that. That is incredibly different kind of conversation about, it's okay for you to like whoever you like, versus there is 27 different genders and we need to have drag queens in lingerie in front of 5-year-olds twerking, or look at the parade in New York, in Toronto, like in these big places, there was people naked, completely naked, and like humping on one another. Like this was a porno, and our children were in the street. My God. What have we done?
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing that as a child, being a survivor of sexual abuse, that fucked me up for a long time. That was traumatic. And we're doing this willingly to our children. We gotta give a handshake.
And look, and I think that, I'm all for, letting your proud flag fly. Okay. Right. Like you want to have parades, you want to, bring awareness to, to a community of people that have been, ostracized.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yes.
What I'm not for is you not respecting mine. You not respecting the fact that there are children around.
Yeah.
You'll get pissed off because somebody drops an F-bomb in front of a 5-year-old, and then you'll go out and, be completely naked in the streets in front of a 5-year-old. Where's the line?
Yeah.
And again, this is a very small fringe group of people that are doing these sort of things, right? Like I'm trusting that it's a small fringe group, okay, that we don't actually have this crazy issue. But the point is, have some respect, be aware, self-police, would you be okay if it was your child that got moved into a public library and had, a hetero couple totally naked in there doing story time hour?
Or in lingerie.
Wearing the lingerie.
Same get up.
Right. Oh. Like, would that be okay for you? Would Absolutely. You be okay if you had, people having sex out in the street practically in a parade? Like, would you be okay with that if it was your kid? What about if you were a kid and you experienced that?
Yeah.
Would that be okay? I think that that's the thing about all of this noise, right, that's going on.
Yeah.
Is that there is so much, there's so much of it, and it's diluting the people's ability to have their own beliefs, right? And I think that people are so like absorbed into it that it's creating this like cloud, this hazy cloud around what's true for them and what they believe. And like I said, I'm not anti anybody.
No.
I love all people.
Love all people.
But I wouldn't go out and do these things in public to children. I would self-police on how what I do affects other people. Yeah. Now, that said, I'm also reflecting back on this very conversation and the things that I have said. And how are people going to receive that? Is it going to hurt anybody? And if it did, I genuinely am sorry. But I need to have this conversation because it is important that those who are in this place of uncertainty on what or how they think or feel about things, they can explore it in their own mind.
Well, and you can explore it with other adults in open conversations, in forums that are appropriate to that. Like, if you want to sit down and have a beer with me and discuss where you're at and why you're doing the things that you're doing and whatever, you want to wear a teddy during our conversation, okay, amazing. That's I'm an adult and I can decide whether I want to sit next to you in a public place while you're in lingerie. We might even get kicked out. Like, this is the thing, is like, if somebody walked in to a Starbucks in lingerie, I'm pretty sure that they would get kicked out. They would not get served. And it has nothing to do with who they are, and simply about, like, there's that rule of decency, like, and that's indecent exposure, and that's a public place, and that's where kids can go. So that's not appropriate.
Right.
Yeah, but I agree, and I second everything you said. My words, although I get heated about this, I get heated from a place of protection and seeing this family unit be disintegrated. Because if there is no family, who are we going to rely on? Whether they're blood family or their adopted family, like I've adopted you, Heather, to be my sister, and I have little lot of adopted family, people who I consider so incredibly close to me, and I would do anything for them. If we sever that tie, that value within our society, where are we left with? And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago about torture and mass psychosis. And one of the ways to get a society into mass psychosis is to put them into fear, while being alone and then being fearful. That's exactly what we're doing with this conversation, is we're cutting the ties with everybody. Let's come back to love. Let's come back to light. Let's try to understand one another. I may not understand you, but I still love you. And as long as we have that boundary of protecting those who are coming up after us, those who are the weakest in our population, who need to be, not sequestered, but like need to be protected the most. As long as we're doing that, I think it's okay to have these conversations, leave them out of the picture. Let's try to understand one another. Let's come back to this value of being a family, being connected, and taking care of one another, because that's what the world needs, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, I think that, the gay community, a lot of them, it was very scary for them to come out to their family, and to expose themselves for being different. I think, and I'm sure that a lot of them were very scared to what their family would think about them or believe about them, or, and a lot of them have been completely ostracized from their family. And I think that that is horrible.
Yeah.
I think that, if you are a parent who's listening to our show right now, and your views and opinions align with ours, and you suspect that your child may be gay, love them anyway, because they came here to walk a special path. This was part of their path. This was part of their plan. And if you love them, you're going to love them whether they love the opposite sex or they love the same sex, or they don't even want to be the sex that they are. Okay, because there's still souls underneath that body. Love them anyway.
Everybody deserves love.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Please contribute to the conversation, whether you agree or you disagree. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear where you're at in this. And most of all, we want you to know that you're not alone. Regardless of whether you agree or disagree, you're not alone. We're here in this life with you, loving you, and a part of this ascension journey together as a family. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.